Welcome back to the Fostering Financial Victories podcast. This is episode 6. My name is Eric Mazzell. I'm your host, and I am joined today by two very special guests. So I've got Rob Victor, who's a wealth coach with the Foster Financial firm, and I've got Jason Donnelly, who is the somewhat new still, athletic director at Furman University.
Yeah, still new. Still 6 months has been very new.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to any of our previous episodes, we encourage you to go back and check those out. But today we're excited to talk through some benefits of just coaching in general. So Jason's had a lot of interaction with some high-level coaches throughout his career. I want to give a little bit of background on him. So came from Villanova University. So prior to coming to Furman, you were the executive director of athletics at Villanova, and had some interaction with the basketball coach there as well. So special assistant to Jay Wright while you guys were building a dynasty for a little bit of time there.
Yeah.
So give us a little background on how you got to Greenville, what you're focused on right now with Furman, and then we'll just get into the content of the day.
Well, the first thing I got to do, I got to give a shout out to Rob here because one of the first people I met with when I got in town, I came to your office. And everybody said, when you go to Rob's office, make sure you notice he's got his jersey framed in the background.
Yeah,
and if you walk into the Foster and Victor, you got Paul Foster's got his basketball jersey on one, Rob's got his soccer on the other. So, a great sports connection. And Rob and Paul have become great friends and great advocates in terms of everything that we do at Furman, in terms of the athletic department overall. But yeah, just had a great experience. 15 years at Villanova, working for a head coach who wound up becoming head coach, coach of the decade. So he had so much success. We built the championship program, 2 national championships in 2016, 2018. For me, it was an incredible building experience. Like you talk about when you're coming up and how you were learning all the different things. For me, the same type of thing. Mid-20s, coming in, just got married. 15 years with him, and it was kind of learning at the hand of the master was basically what it was. All the different life lessons, all the different things about competing, attention to detail, work ethic, the way that you treated everyone, being a part of something bigger than yourself. So all these different concepts that were incredible, working for someone who I believe is a Hall of Fame coach in terms of what he does.
Sure. So Rob, you've had your experience with coaches, right? So today we're going to talk about the value of a coach. I'm going to let you guys kind of banter back and forth on this, especially with the Furman connection. You guys talk through a lot of the coaching carousel during the day.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So, Rob, what's the biggest value of a coach? So not necessarily just sports, but there are a lot of coaches in today's world, whether it be life coaches or business coaches. Just kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's accountability, right? I think you've got somebody that knows your goals, and holds you accountable to those goals. And I think having a high-quality coach is not only somebody that can drive you to do things that you may not want to do, but they also care about you. And I think the best coaches, they find a way to tug at the heart, and emotionally charge you to probably move in directions sometimes you may not want to move in. And, I think for me always, the top 3 to 5 people in my life have always coached me, whether it was my dad, right, or Doug Allison at Furman, or coaches in high school or middle school. So
we've spent a lot of time, Doug Allison as Rob's coach and as a keeper of culture at Furman. He's a 25-year head coach, 300 career wins, multiple championships, unbelievable. But the greatest piece of Doug is larger than any of the wins and the success is the people that he's produced. It's the type of men. Doug says it really well culturally. He talks about the people in the room, and the way that impact is. And I think one of the first things I was really impressed when I got to Furman, for me, is the quality and the depth of the coaches. We've got former professional athletes, Hall of Famers, Olympians, coaches that have been the all-time winningest coaches in our conference, have gone to national championships, have had incredible accomplishments. And specific to Doug as a person, Doug's greatest attribute has been the type of character that he's produced in his athletes, is that when you have a chance to get coached, you have a chance to compete together, you have a chance to build a culture together, you have a chance to work towards goals in a larger way together. And I think one of the greatest compliments of Doug is the way that his former athletes, such as yourself, feel about him as a leader, and more importantly than as a leader, but as a husband, as a father, and as a role model is one of the most important things. Yeah. So I think one of the greatest attributes of having a coach and working with a coach is that it's someone that can kind of guide you in terms of the type of work ethic and the type of things that you're looking to accomplish big picture, to become successful like you have postgraduate, and then having your own family and having your own business and having your own values of what you want to try to accomplish once you've left that nest of being a part of a team.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys see that's a commonality or a common trait between the most successful coaches out there, from whether it be athletics or business or just mindset coaches? Is there anything that they all kind of have in common?
Yeah, I was really blessed. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Villanova experience for me, but before I even got there, I came up in a community through DeMatha basketball and Bishop O'Connell basketball with the Wooten family, and the leader of that was Morgan Wooten, who just recently passed away. Morgan Wooten is one of the all-time most successful high school coaches of all time. Could have had any college job that he ever would have wanted. Is in the Naismith Hall of Fame, and the values that he taught us in terms of work ethic, community, the way the attention to detail, the way you went through things. I think one of the greatest things that you learn, and I saw this same translation when I went to work for Jay Wright as his assistant, is that the business model for business is very similar to the same model for running a team and for running an organization is the same type of thing. So the way that you're preaching, the way that people come in to work, the way that they are part of something bigger than themselves, I think one of the greatest attributes of being a student athlete that you have a chance to come back into a culture. So your business, for example, everyone's got their own individual goals, everyone's got their own individual schedules, everyone's got their own individual things that they're trying to accomplish. But if they understand a larger mission, vision, and values, they're all working in that same alignment as you go through. So for me, the chance to have been a student athlete and to be a part of a team taught me so many different things. And then the chance to leave that environment and then to learn to lead in coaching gave me different pieces of information that allowed me to be successful in business. One of the observations I had with both of these leaders is that they would constantly spend time picking the brains, not just of other great coaches, but of also other CEOs and other people in business, because the similarities in the translation is right there. So your values and your mission, what you're trying to accomplish, is the same type of thing. And how do you take practices that are being done in an office or a corporate environment or a financial industry, and then apply that to your team, apply it to your staff, apply it to your culture?
Yeah, and I'd echo what you're saying, Jason. I think for me, two things come to mind. One is trust, and the other is love, right? So the best coaches or leaders or CEOs, whatever it may be, everybody trusts them. And then I think the second thing is whether it's tough love or a different type of love, those people know that their leader cares for them and would do anything for them. So I think that's the thing I think the best are able to do. I'm a big Coach Cal fan at Kentucky, and we went after Jay Wright before we got Coach Cal, and he stayed put at Villanova. But his demeanor and how he does things is tough love. But those kids and those guys and the people around him know that, man, he cares about them, and they'll go to war for him. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Yep.
Yeah, outside looking in, they kind of sound kind of similar in their approach to managing a team.
Yeah, I remember sitting around a table with our staff, and Jay had told us, get ready. This might happen, And I remember going home and telling my wife we just got married. Might be moving to Kentucky. This might happen, and in a good way, the institution stepped forward and valued the different things he was bringing together. I think the Coach Cal actually is a good example. Also, talk about coaches is that we would talk about this a lot. There's so many different ways to be successful. So even though you may be in the same industry and you may be doing different things, you look at the difference in coaching. So just use basketball, for example. The way that Jay Wright, the way that Jim Calhoun, the way that Jim Boeheim, that Coach Calipari, that Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, they're all going to do it a little bit differently.
Sure.
But it comes back to what are your values and all those different things. And I think about my experiences with Foster Victor. I had a chance to sit with Paul and go through different things and learn. And there's a certain piece that your company has decided to say, we're going to value the human element of what we do, and we're going to go through this holistic approach to your benefit. What are the things that are most important to you, and look at that in a way where it's not any one thing. It's not about financial growth. It's not about protecting yourselves with liabilities or protecting yourself in all these different areas. It's what's best for you and your family in a comprehensive way. And I think the best coaches are the type that they don't just come to a team and say, I've got one set way of doing this, but that I've got multiple different things using a methodology and using a system to this, that I can take all the different pieces and put the pieces together to make that a successful person or to make that a successful organization.
Yeah, totally agree.
Is there a time in either of your lives, or even as you were growing up through playing sports and being around coaches, is there a time where you can look back and say, I had a coach to help me with this, but I didn't have anybody to guide me along this path for an obstacle that you may have been facing, whether it be going through school or whether it be getting into your career? Is there a time where you didn't have a coach that you wish you would have?
For me, probably not. I think I was blessed in that arena. Whether I didn't have a coach per se, whether it was in athletics or academics, I had a strong parental guidance, right? So both my mom and my dad were always involved from an academic standpoint and an athletic standpoint, and I think they drove home when a coach wasn't in that setting. I had somebody that I could look to, from a family life. I don't think a lot of people have that, and I was lucky to have it. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing for me. I grew up in a single parent family, so my mother set the vision for the values and the type of things that we were going to do from a character standpoint, but I literally can't think of a time in my life where a coach didn't have a major impact on what I was doing, and that goes back to youth league coaches, my high school basketball coach, my college coaches, and in some ways it's not always just the coach, it's the people around the program, it's the people that support it, it's the people that become your mentors in that way. And I know for a fact for me, and as I've grown through my life, opportunities and challenges and changes, that there's certain people in my life. My college assistant coach who recruited me, I still confer with him every time I make a big life decision. And
Really?
That's awesome.
That's been everything. That's been marriage, that's been homes, that's been jobs, that's been big picture things. And that's the coach, is that there's someone in your life that serves as a mentor. And I've been fortunate, I think, in certain ways to also grow to a point where I've had some people that I've begun to mentor. So
Yeah.
I think there's a process of the coaching that not only do you take the coaching, but also that you're then giving it back. And you're applying those different lessons to people that impact your life as well.
So you hear a lot of talk right now from the youth development side of society with mentorship and a big push from the community to go that direction of have more opportunities for kids to have mentors. Is that something to where, for people that are listening to this and taking this content in, is that a starting point for them to where if they want to get into that field, how do they do it? How do you start being a coach or finding somebody that can help you if you're looking for that?
I think for me, you got to find somebody that you want to mimic to a certain extent, right? So I think, a lot of times people say, hey, you can go get a mentor, right? Somebody wants to mentor you. Mentorship or coaching in general, I think you've got to seek it out. My relationship with Paul early on was mentor to mentee, and I spent a ton of time with him. But I was asking to spend time with him. When he was going to the gym and working out at 5 a.m., I was like, I'm going to go to that gym at 5 a.m. because it's going to give me an hour of time with him. And then when he would go and eat breakfast, I'd be like, I'm going to go and tag along and eat breakfast with you as well too. So what I didn't want to do was interrupt his day and his schedule, but I wanted to find time to try to get into his schedule without him really noticing it. And then over time, I just kind of became part of it. And then, our relationship moved more to peers. I still view Paul as a mentor in a lot of aspects in life. But for me, I think that's the approach you have to take. I think a lot of people want to have a mentor, and they kind of raise their hand and say, hey, can I have one? I think you got to go try to emulate or try to find somebody that you think is somebody you want to be or be like later on in life.
That's what I agree completely. And I've had, as you're saying it, I'm thinking about the different moments I had where, you choose to engage it, you choose to immerse yourself in it. So a lot of times when people are coming up, particularly on the sports side of things, and they're asking for advice how to be successful in sports. So whatever it would be, coaching, administration, the pros, whatever it is. And we've seen, there's been so many different people in the circles I've been in that have gone on to the same for you with soccer. You've seen the same type of thing. But what happens, I think, is you have to be willing to immerse yourself in it, and you also have to be willing to make some sacrifices along the way. And whether those sacrifices are time, and whether those sacrifices could be financial, whether those sacrifices are just whatever you're willing to give to be a part of it. But there is a point of commitment that you're willing to take to be successful in that way, and then engage a mentor and engage a team, engage an organization that's going to get you where you need to be. And this would be an example, throwing it back to where I am. You get to a certain point in life where you've got a lot of things figured out. You've had some success. It may be in work, or maybe success in in sports or maybe success in your family, whatever those things are. An example for me is that my family haven't spent enough time doing our due diligence. Or what are those other things in our life that we need to be prepared for?
Sure.
So having an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, how do we plan out the next 40 years of our life so that we can think about college education, we can think about disability, we can think about retirement, paying for college, all these different things that, now for me, my values and goals have shifted. I've had the opportunity to do things I want to do, but my real nucleus in my team now is my wife and my 3 young children.
Yeah.
So, that's my new team, and then this morning, for instance, just driving into school with my kids and my son asking a question and being able to have that time and that dialogue to try to teach him something that we'll see how much of it he took.
Yeah.
But I knew he was listening and I knew he was asking a question and he was looking for some information. But, for me, part of the friendship and the relationship is to learn of someone with expertise. And you look at the expertise that Paul and Rob have put together in your industry, where you become industry leaders in this, and that you've got a name and a brand and a reputation built on values in terms of what you're going to try to do to help your clients and what you're going to try to do to help the community in that way. And I think there's a lot of value in that in the same way.
Yeah.
So Rob, so to kind of piggyback on that a bit, so going into the planning side of what our business does, the coaching aspect I think is a huge deal when you really sit back and look at it, because that's really what we provide. Mm-hmm. And it's not just a one-on-one setting. So Jason, I'm sure you've noticed that we've got a pretty large bench of experts in our office.
Yeah.
Rob, talk through why somebody might want to take that next step and find a coach that can help them with that aspect of their life.
Well, before I think I said the same thing too. I don't know why you wouldn't seek advice and why you wouldn't seek experts. For me, I think it's really hard to do it on your own, mainly because you have to be extremely disciplined and you have to be non-emotional. And I've yet to meet anybody that can be both. Sometimes you'll have people that are super disciplined, but they become emotional in certain settings, whereas other people are not disciplined, and they don't let emotion drive it, but they don't really have a plan or a roadmap together. So I think you take it. I know we keep going back and forth to sports, but when I used to do summer training for soccer, when it was just me, it was a whole lot harder to be like, I'm going to go do one more run, or I'm going to go do one more thing.
Yeah.
But once we got to school or got to campus and it was like, hey, I've got a coaching staff here that is like watching me, I'm going to do the other run. So I think the same thing goes with financial planning or what we do. I think personally and professionally, surrounding yourself with experts is the most important thing that you can do in life. And building a team around you. So hopefully over time you plug in with a really good financial planner. You plug in with a really good mentor, whether it's on your faith-based side.
Sure.
And then I think you also probably need to plug in with somebody that's helping you with your marriage. I think a lot of times people are trying to do that by themselves, and that's a hard thing to do. Anybody that's married knows that. So I think to answer your question, and that's a long-winded answer. The goal is you got to have somebody to hold you accountable, and you got to have somebody that you trust and somebody that you believe cares genuinely about you.
Has your best interest at heart.
And if you can find those things,
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, we look at it from an organizational structure similar to coaching, the same way that we're trying to build a department and a team, and it's like a toolbox. It's like you got these different tools in your box, and each one of them serves a different purpose. But what we're trying to do with our team is to have experts in different areas that really become the quarterbacks of those areas and have an ownership there. I think that's similar to what your team is, where you may have the leaders or the people up front that can communicate the vision and the mission, and then to be able to break it down and say, okay, I'm going to lead this process for you, but I've got someone here with me that they are the expert in this space, and they know the most. And that's the same type of thing we're trying to do from an organizational structure at Furman. It's the same type of things that great coaches try to do, is they try to surround themselves with other leaders that have on the same mission and the same purpose in terms of what they're trying to do, but they ultimately want talent, and they want talent that can diversify their operation to do all these different things. So we have a saying, within Furman Athletics in terms of what we're trying to do, is that in order to be really great at the job that you're in, you have to learn the job, first. You've got to go into it and learn all the different aspects of it. You've got to master the job second. You've got to become the expert. You've got to become the person that people say, talk to him, talk to her. They're the one that you really want to talk to because they're the expert in that area. Then the third part of it is you got to teach it. You know, you got to take that time afterwards. Like, you have a responsibility to take what you've learned, to pass it forward. It's the ultimate example of what you've learned, to say, I'm going to teach this forward. You know, that's the coaching part. Here's what I've learned. Here's what I'm going to share. And you got to teach it in a way so that if you exit that role, that people behind you can handle that responsibility, which then allows you to elevate and move up, whether it's in your position or different opportunities, or to focus on different things as you go through that process. So we've got that type of process working in, you know, within a team and within an organizational structure similar to what you're doing in your company as well.
Yeah, and I think, piggyback on that, I think it's like you don't want 12 quarterbacks. Right.
You can only have one Tom Brady, right?
We want one. So at the end of the day, like, we need to have one person that specializes in this, another that specializes in this, and you may have somebody that's like a Swiss Army, knife, and they've got a lot of pieces, but there's no way they're going to be the best at every piece. I think you're saying the same thing.
Yep.
With building Furman and building our business.
And it takes a lot of humility on the part of the person who's seeking out the coaching too, wouldn't you say? To realize, hey, I don't know everything about all these topics. To be willing to almost be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think that might be a struggle for a lot of people from an athletic perspective, but also from people that walk in our doors, is they just feel like they're a little bit vulnerable in things they don't really understand.
Yeah.
And to acknowledge that is kind of a challenge.
I'd agree.
Yeah. All right, so Jason, you've been here since August.
Yeah.
How did you find Greenville?
Yeah.
And then what are you most excited about with Furman Athletics?
Yes, we were talking about this before you got here. We're spending some time together, and it was really a blessing. The job that I had where I was for 15 years, I was so fortunate. I've been thinking about this recently. The people that I was able to surround myself with, the opportunities for growth, and the opportunities to keep developing as a leader in that space. And sometimes people ask me, man, 15 years, did you ever think about moving on, doing different things? And the answer was always yes. There was a period of time for my wife and I, at the end of every season, we thought, okay, this may be the year where we leave. And we didn't buy a home for years because we always thought it was going to be a temporary thing. And what I've looked back on, it was this tremendous period of growth, that each year I learned and developed something new. And each year along the way, I had a chance to improve myself. And then the other thing about the organization I was in, the organization gave me a chance to develop and change. I didn't do the same role. I did 5 different roles in 15 years. So about every 3 years, I had a chance to lead and do something different. Which was a really healthy thing for me. And we had gone through a journey as a family where we were really happy, and I was really happy. We're in the Northeast where I had grown up, but my wife was a Southerner, and we'd always talked about getting down south where we had a chance to raise our family here. And we'd gone through a period of tremendous success, and we had all these different goals, many of which we didn't even necessarily set, but that we wanted to achieve. And it was a point where I just said, you know what? I remember right where I was standing, I said, we did it all. And everything we were looking to accomplish, we wanted to do it. I felt ready to take the next step professionally for me, and just had this sense of empowerment that what's next, what's ready. And then simultaneously, my wife had always said, you start thinking about life decisions, that if there's ever an opportunity to move south, I'd really love to have that opportunity. So in a really unique and blessed way, had heard about Furman, had a friend that had a connection to Furman previously, that had a great experience, so I knew about Furman. Didn't fully understand the depth of everything about Furman, but once I was able to engage the process, it went very quickly. It was one of those things where the experiences that I had and the expertise that I had was a really good fit for Furman. And all the different values and the different things about Furman in terms of what that was for me professionally and for my family personally was a great fit, and it just went from there. So we feel very blessed to be a part of this, and we were really blessed that things worked out this way. And sometimes, you think there's a bigger plan and a bigger picture. There's a lot of me feels that Furman was right for me, and I think there was a lot of Furman that I was right for them, in terms of where these things came together. But it's been a really good fit for us.
Very cool. I think the unique thing is, and I think Jason won't mind me saying this, is I don't know how many people at Villanova knew about Furman prior to Furman going to Villanova and beating them in basketball. But I would assume that when that happened, that had to make the hey, I'm going to Furman. They're like, well, we know where Furman's at now, right? A lot easier.
And I've kind of flipped that around, saying that people said the same thing. Furman beating Villanova, was that what got you here? I said, well, actually, yeah, because it was the point where Furman began to realize, and this is the challenge. So the challenge for Furman that we're going through is Furman's amazing campus, amazing people, incredible education, successful athletic programs. It's got all these great attributes. The challenge for Furman is that there's a humility to Furman that not enough people know about how great Furman is. So the challenge for Furman is that the brand has not grown big enough to get recognized. But when Furman beat Villanova at Villanova, which is almost impossible to do,
Pretty big deal.
it was a huge
Yeah.
deal. And what it did is it opened Furman's eyes to the chance that maybe we can achieve something more. Maybe we can be bigger than what we are. And that's been the conversations that Rob and I have had a lot about where are we with Furman athletics? What are our challenges here, and where do we need to grow? I remember the first meeting we had, I said, Rob, there's a level of commitment, a level of investment around what we're doing here that's going to require a level of trust that's going to allow Furman to move forward, that we're all going to have to be ingrained in here. So for me, the first thing I've done since I've got here is I've really tried to, number one, learn and listen and understand the culture, but to be able to push this brand forward and to be able to change people's thinking about what Furman is. To say that I believe in it, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I love being here, but we need to expand our brand. And I think it's similar to what you're going through with your business, is that you got a good product, you're doing the right things, you know where you are, and then it's just a question of how many other people get to touch this product that they begin to become your ambassadors because they say, man, I'm a part of Furman and I had this great experience, and then they want to share it with others.
Right.
They want to have this symbiosis. So for example, we've got these Furman family wristbands that I've been sending around. It's just a little thing to say, I'm all in on what this is. I appreciate what this opportunity has provided me, and let me share this with other people. So our branding has been Furman Family, which is intended to say, let's be together in this, and let's go from there. So it's been really exciting, and I think that for me, again, it's the parallel to your business, is that we know we got something good. We know we're doing the right things. And it's how do we get the word out to more people to say, join us in this adventure and join us in this journey, and let's see where we can take this to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and when you listen back to this, you'll hear one of the things Jason just said was like, hey, there's a form of trust there that people are going to have.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, so for him as an AD, right, and saying, hey, this is where I want to lead us as an alumni, as a community member, Greenville as a city, and then nationwide, there has to be a level of trust with what he is trying to build with the other leadership team at Furman.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing we went back to earlier. It's like, hey, you've got to have the trust piece is really, really important when it comes to leadership or coaching or whatever it may be.
Getting to think big.
Yeah, and we also have great, we've got great alignment, right now. I think the other thing is that you got to focus on the people, but everyone's got to be aligned. And right now, our president and our leadership team fully aligned. Our board of trustees fully aligned. Our coaches and student athletes fully aligned, and are bringing our alumni into this fold to say, okay, what is it that we're trying to strategically achieve? And I think the other thing too along the way is that not every goal is going to be a sexy goal. The work that goes into this and everything you need to do, there's going to be some building blocks along the way that you've got to do in terms of building an organization and bringing that culture. That some things aren't as exciting as other things, but they're necessary.
Yeah.
And then there's also the other element of the hard decision. How do you go through that process to say, okay, what do we need to do as a hard decision that ultimately is going to make us better 5-10 years down the road? And again, that's the things I've enjoyed, sitting down with your team and learning what you do is that it's not intended, okay, it's not going to be this thing that's going to happen overnight or in 1 year. It's going to be this commitment and this trust and also this plan. What is our strategic plan for growth? And how does that growth start to come together? And then what's exciting about it is when you start to say, all right, if we commit to this plan and we're all engaged in this way, the growth that comes once you commit to that plan, when you start to look down the road at the 5, 10, 15, 30 years out, that's what's really exciting about committing to something when you know you're part of a great brand.
Yeah, agreed.
So I know you got a busy weekend of tournament basketball ahead of you. So I want to wrap this up. There's a few questions we want to ask. So we ask this to every guest that we have on.
Okay.
So Rob, I asked you this last time when you were on, so I'm not gonna blast you.
That's
with this
good.
one
I don't
again.
need to answer them again.
Yeah. So Jason, what's one financial mistake that you may have learned the hard way?
Financial mistake. I guess I don't know if this sounds right or wrong. When you're younger, you're getting through college and you're getting through just getting a job, saving for the long term looks so far away, and you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get through it and different opportunities. I think I say it to all of our athletes in the same way. It's the work that you put into your character. It's the work that you put into the weight room. It's the work you put into your game. It's all those different things, your academics. I really think it pays off. And I think if there's any one thing I could have done better, and I haven't made any financial blunders along the way. I wish I would have been just a little bit more disciplined earlier on to do a little bit better job of saving so that I could be further along at this point based on how that would accrue to this point. And I give my wife a lot of credit on this because when we got married, she was the one that really, educated me about the 401k or about, investing in a plan and all these different things. And I think we would both say the same thing, that we probably both wish we could have saved more along the way. But we've done a really good job as a family of building a nest egg. I just wish I would have started it earlier. Does that you get that a lot?
A lot.
It's interesting you say that, and the fact that you didn't know what this question was before I asked it is even more telling, because this is the 6th episode, and every time I've asked that question, that has been the answer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I wish I'd have saved more earlier. So if you could take one thing away from this talk or any of these other episodes that you've listened to, save a little bit more early. That's been the biggest mistake learned the hard way.
Yeah.
All right, second question. If you could buy anything in the world, regardless of what it costs, what would it be?
Well, it's funny. So that question's actually changed for us. So, this is the value of moving to Greenville and then being closer to my wife's family. About 4 times a year we would take that 10 to 12 hour drive from Philadelphia to North Carolina, and I would ask my wife the same question. I said, money was not a concern here. Would you rather have the private plane? Would you rather have the beach house? Would you rather have the boat? And it was almost unanimous, the private plane. Just to cut down on those hours. But I don't have. I'm not. This is going to sound really odd. I don't have a whole lot of wants or needs. And again, this is just an attitude of gratitude that I have. I feel very blessed for what I have as a person. I feel very blessed in my faith and in my family and my friendships, my health. So I don't have a whole lot of needs. Now, I would not turn a private jet down at any time because if there's any one thing that would make this job easier,
it would do.
And allow me to retain some great coaches like Bob Ritchie and Clay Hendricks and Jackie and Doug, it'd be really nice to have a private jet at my disposal. But I don't really want for a whole lot. I've got everything that I need.
Well, you got to your right there. When I asked him that question a few weeks ago, it was he wanted to be able to teleport.
Oh, is that right?
Same thing,
So,
man. Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, I just wanted to be able to snap my fingers and be like, hey, I could be in Paris, France right now. That way I don't have to worry about travel, and I can save a lot of time.
Exactly.
And, at this point.
I didn't know that teleporting was on the table. But
It's not, but if anybody figures it out, I'll buy that. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll both take a private jet. That's being offered to us with no cost. We'll take it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, last question for you. Last 2 most recent things that you spent money on.
Good question. I've been really busy. So the last 6 months, I've been.
One of them's got to be the
nuts.
Starbucks cup.
Yeah, this is.
It might be a sponsor.
Honestly, this is probably my daily priority.
Okay.
Like I don't have a whole lot of vices, but coffee is definitely one of them. Like Rob talked about getting up early. Like this morning, same thing. Get up at 5. work out, get a great day, and that coffee really makes a difference for me. It makes me feel good. I'm trying to think if I've purchased anything recently, but no. I love golf. My Christmas gift was a new pair of golf shoes, which is all I really wanted. But I love golf and the different things that come with that. But I can't remember anything I've bought recently. I've bought a lot of Legos, and this is for my kids. I've bought a lot of kids' books and a lot of stuff for them. But I can't remember the last thing I bought for myself.
I was going to say, with 3 kids,
this is every day.
You're spending some cash on them.
They're worth every penny.
No doubt. All right, so Jason, let everybody know what Furman's got coming up. If they want to come and check out some things that are going on campus, have at it.
Yeah, so we're in a great place. Furman Athletics is having a historic year in terms of all the different accomplishments we had. In the fall alone, we had 4 out of 6 of our fall teams, including men's soccer, win the SoCon championship. A 5th football went to the NCAA playoffs afterwards. Our men's and women's basketball teams are both having great years. I'm getting ready to leave right here and head up to the Southern Conference tournament up in Asheville. We're looking to spend the whole weekend up there with both our women's and men's team. Our men's team's had a historic year, the most wins in the history of the program, and they're right knocking on the door right here for an NCAA tournament berth, which would be the first time in 40 years. So this is a great opportunity for our program to do that. Our cross country and indoor and outdoor track and fields team is one of the best in the country. They're competing at an elite level. They just had the best weekend they've had in indoor track and field. 2 of our runners are going to the NCAA championships this upcoming month in about 2 weeks from now. Wow. And our spring sports are doing incredibly well. If you look at our golf teams and our tennis teams are doing really well. Our baseball and softball teams are competing hard. We got our men's and women's lacrosse teams are off the ground. So we are blessed at Furman What I would ask is that anyone that's listening to this, if there's anything we can do for you, if there's a way that we can engage you further, our doors are open. You know, we want to build as many friendships, and we want to engage as many Furman alumni, and we want to have as many partners in this process to be very inclusive. So when I say Furman family, it means that the doors are open and everyone's welcome to participate. We are excited about this growth proposition. You know, Rob and I have had a lot of conversations about where we could be in the next 3 to 5 years as we commit to the growth of our organization, but we're in a really, really good spot at a very prestigious academic institution that is looking to grow with regards to Division I athletics. So that's what's on the table.
It's exciting stuff.
We're in a good spot.
All right, good. Well, thanks for spending some time with us. If you have some suggestions or questions about content that you'd like for us to address in future episodes, please reach out to us. You can find us on our website at fostervictorwa.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Foster Victor Wealth Advisors. Subscribe. Share this with a friend. Invite somebody to a game. Come out and check these guys out. And Jason, thanks for spending some time with us. I know you're busy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Information contained in this podcast was intended for general use, not to be used as specific advice. For content tailored to your personal situation, please contact one of our wealth coaches.